Good evening and welcome to the Caledonia Township Planning Commission for March 16, 2026. Call to order. Clement.
Here.
McLean.
Here.
Bradshaw.
Here.
Curtis is here. Eberly.
Here.
Visser.
Present.
Cutler.
Yes.
I need a motion for the consideration of the meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Eberly, support by Cutler. Anybody have any other comments for the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, we have a meeting agenda. At this time, we will open up public comment period for brief up to 2 minutes. If anybody would like to speak, now is the time for that.
Mr. Chair, maybe also reiterate that we do not have any public hearing items tonight, so
So reiterated.
thank you. So it's either speaking now or at the end of the meeting.
Hi.
Do I need to introduce myself first or anything?
Lene, can you move that microphone?
Yes.
Or you can pick it up. We won't be able to hear you otherwise.
Okay. Could you speak up?
We still won't hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I need to do any formal introduction or can I just begin?
Name would be nice.
Okay. Yep, that's part of my introduction, so that's perfect. Hi, my name is Melissa Cady, and I'm a resident of the Graymore neighborhood in Caledonia. I believe that the community input should be pivotal in your decision-making, and we have concerns regarding the light industrial futures use zoning and development of the area around 68th and Broadmoor. We're calling for you to do a comprehensive update to the master plan, including current population, housing values, traffic patterns, and other changes that would affect the decision of the future land use zoning. This land is now bordered on 3 sides by residential developments, and better uses would include zoning for neighborhood business, general business, or highway commercial, given our close proximity to M6, along with commercial and residential growth nearby. We feel the phrasing in the master plan itself justifies the need for a zoning change, as it states, if conditions upon which the plan was developed have changed significantly since the plan was adopted, such as economic, demographic, changing traffic conditions, or other reasons, the Planning Commission and legislative body should consider these events as part of their deliberation of rezoning requests to ensure that the plan is current. The idea should be that if conditions that were originally considered when the plan was adopted have changed, the plan deserves reconsideration. If a proposed rezoning request is not consistent with the plan, it should not be automatically rejected. The involvement of the public is the glue that cements this plan. I would ask you, if you have to set special land use requirements for light industrial zoning to work in this area, does that indicate that this is the best use of that land? Will light industrial facility add value to our area, or will it negatively affect home values and health of the communities directly surrounding it? I know my answers to these questions, but I am curious to hear yours. When referring to the highest and best use of this land, are you measuring the highest and best tax and financial gain, or are you looking for the highest value added to our community through the best use of the land? As homeowners yourselves, you should consider the economic harm it will cause to our home values in the surrounding area by developing light industrial properties adjacent to residential areas. The majority of the Graymore development have moved from outside communities such as Byron Center, Ada, and Kentwood into Caledonia. We have invested heavily into the local community, and we are now asking you to invest back into us as residents by taking our requests seriously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? And just a reminder, there may be people here that disagree with you, so please hold your applause, announcements, cheering, jeering, or other items for that. They are your neighbors as well.
Hi, Anthony Hogan from Graymore as well. The one thing I wanted to point out is based on the documents on your website, it looks like the planning that's being utilized is from data as far back as 1998, if I'm not mistaken. And so I would encourage the group to communicate, one, that that data is still valid, being over 25 years old, and that there's justification around why that would be used to decide the future of Caledonia now, when it is 25 years old data that you're looking at to decide that. So I just want to bring up that it's on your website, it's aware, and that everyone knows that we're using 25-year-old data in some cases for these decisions.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Carmen Dimovsky. I'm also from the Graymore community and also serve on the board on the HOA as well. I just want to make a quick connection here regarding the zoning and the relates to the master plan. So we already see how much have changed in our township. For example, the M37 road expansion is to overcome our population. That's why we're expanding the road, is my understanding. That alone is already show how different it is from our traffic patterns and development pressure and today compared to when it was planned originally written. So the reality is that we're looking at the master plan that has not been fully updated for over 20 years. So I ask you that to consider before making any permanent zoning decision that could shape this township for decades, it would be responsible to first update a master plan using current data, community input. By doing this, it will ensure all of our decisions reflect our communities, involve the needs and the values that we all invested into this township. I respectfully ask you that to take a step back and really review the planning guiding document and to make this decision actually reflect the township we have today. Planning should not guide development, and those decisions should be data-driven and based on today's condition, not the other way around. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Good evening, Tom.
Good evening. Once again, I guess I'm the change of pace here. Just a note, I see later in the meeting in the correspondence section that they'll be addressing in some way the letter from the neighbors on Alaska Trails. And I appreciate you bringing that to light. I hope that maybe other than just reading that maybe a few answers or guidance for us, you know, as follow-up to the meeting last time, just would be helpful. So just as that comes later in the agenda, just appreciate any thoughts or answers or anything that you could help us out, just understanding process on that. That'd be great. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom. All right, seeing none, I will close the brief public comment period. At this time, I need a motion for the consideration of the meeting minutes from the February 16th, 2026 meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Eberly, support by
Visser.
Visser. Thank you. Any comments, changes? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes from the February 16th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Does anyone have a conflict of interest for any item on the agenda tonight? Seeing none, we'll move to new business 6A, a preliminary site condo for 36 single-family detached homes and private road, otherwise known as Haley Ridge at 6716 Whitneyville on a 31.34 acre R2 zone parcel, 412302 45113 for Bosgraf Homes agent, Naderville. Ms. Lene, take it away, please.
Yeah, thank you. This is a site condominium project. It includes 36 residential condominium units. It's located in the R2 medium density district, which allows half-acre lots with 100 feet of frontage. All of the lots meet the zoning requirements for the R2 district. They're proposing a development with public sewer and private well. There are stormwater detention areas. One thing to note is that 2 of those stormwater areas are located outside of the condominium association boundaries on proposed parcels A and B. So the applicant is essentially buying a larger parcel of land. They're doing the land divisions that are allowable by right, and then taking the remainder area of land and proposing the site condominium. And so a few of those parcels that they're parceling off, specifically the ones that face, I think, 60th or 66 are, have those stormwater basins on them. So with the site condominium project, much like Alaska Trails, this is a preliminary review by the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission reviews it. There's a proposed resolution in your packet. After Planning Commission review, the applicant goes back and does their detailed site plan, engineering plans, and then that returns to the Township Board for final approval. So they have to incorporate all the conditions that the Planning Commission might attach to that before going to the Township Board. We reviewed the site condominium and we found that many of the standards are met in terms of the compliance with our zoning ordinance. There's one private road that's proposed. The road meets the ordinance standards. We did add a condition that the master deed and bylaws are reviewed by the township attorney prior to final approval. They are proposing sidewalks, which is required in our ordinance. And we did have some back and forth with the applicant regarding the wetlands and do not disturb areas. The original plan they had some massive clear cutting on the site that the township engineer determined was not entirely necessary. So he had them go back and modify some of the tree kind of preservation areas. And we did include a condition that the applicant identify and dimension do not disturb areas on the site plan to minimize additional unnecessary clearing at the project entry and along units 27 through 36. Other than that, I know that there's been some, that there are some comments that the township engineer had in their review letter. The applicant and their engineer are also here and can answer any of those questions.
Can you help me out here just real quick? If
Sure.
this is by right, why are we in a site condo?
So the
What's-
reason that they're doing a site condominium, so a site condominium is a way to divide land. And if they did not utilize a site condominium, they would utilize a land division process. And the Land Division Act would allow a certain number of splits or parcels to be created through that act. And with the overall size of the parcel, they would only be able to achieve maybe 6 splits on this property, the whole property. So therefore, they're doing a combination of the splits via the land division, that would be parcels A and B. And then in order to get the number of sites that could be possible given the 30 acres, since they can go down to half-acre lots, they're using a land division process in order to develop the property.
And this is zoned R2,
Correct.
so it's limited by the Land Division Act unless
Unless an applicant goes through a condominium process to divide the property.
and do we know what the by right would be under the new rules?
Under the new Land Division Act, I don't have that memo here where I did that analysis. Sorry.
It's more.
It's more, under the new Land Division Act, you get 10 splits for the first, I think, 10 acres. And then additional splits if you have a private road, if you only have one driveway off of one of the section line roads. So they might be able to do 12 to 14.
All right, anybody else have questions for Ms. Linay? All right,
I got a quick question.
go ahead, Donovan.
I guess I just don't quite understand, well, maybe you can explain to me how the water retention works outside of the actual condominium project? Is that being done with easements? How's that being done?
Correct, via easement.
Okay.
You can step up to the microphone, but yeah, it would be easements.
Easements, okay.
And there would be language in the condominium bylaws and master deed about the maintenance of those facilities, the, not necessarily the ownership of them, since they would they be owned by the association? No, they would be owned by these property owners, but then the association would maintain them and have the liability of, hold the liability for them.
Correct. Much like any other drainage easement would work, it would be owned by the owners of those parcels, but there would be certain rights and responsibilities that the condominium association would have for it.
All right, half a step back.
Yep.
Are you in possession of the Caledonia Township Planning Commission memo dated March 2nd, 2026, along with the Vreesen Corhorn March 9th? memos?
Yes.
Perfect. Give us your name so we know who we're talking to and who you're with.
Well, I guess I'll start. Chad Coster, 944 Oak Grand Rapids, Michigan. Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm with the development team, and we'll certainly be brief as the smart guy is up next. So just, again, wanted to thank you and for taking a look at this project. We do have the 36 sites inside the Holly Ridge project here, and then the 2 sites, A and B, on 66th Street, so total 38. Excited to present this plan. We've been under contract with this property for a while and doing all of our due diligence, and that brings us here tonight as we are virtually done with that and want to get it in front of you all. So, again, I don't need to spend a bunch of time. You did a beautiful job of setting that up, and I'll let Eric take the hard questions. So, thank you.
Eric, I assume you're with Naderveld?
I am.
All right.
Yes, my name is Eric DeYoung. I'm project manager with Naderville. And let's make sure I have my notes.
So, I think we have a few questions for you. I'll start. I just want to make sure, I understand sidewalks are reinstalled both sides, but we need our normal note about the sidewalks need to be, just a minute. Does somebody have something playing? I hear.
Yes, it's the children.
So in our resolution, there's a requirement that the sidewalks are installed within 2 years of the first building permit. And that sidewalks that front any public or common areas be installed at the time of the road, but there aren't any of those. And then the applicant would post a bond for the sidewalks that are not constructed, or they would post the bond for the sidewalks, and then as they're constructed, they can release some of that bond.
All right, so that's covered on our normal, I
It-
guess I must read that.
Yes, it's in the resolution.
Okay. Mr. Bradshaw?
Sure. Well, I feel like you may want to do some introduction to the project. Is that accurate? Maybe we'll listen to that and then I can ask questions. Maybe
Sure,
we'll answer.
just real quick, give us an overview.
I'll try to be quick. Thank you for your review. Again, we're presenting on behalf of the developers, Boscraft Homes. Chad introduced a bit. He's also involved in the development team. We are here tonight requesting site condominium and private road review and approval. As Lene said, there's a few major ways in which one can divide land. It's by the provisions of the Land Division Act. The Land Division Act has 2 mechanisms. There's what we sometimes call splits or exempt divisions. And there's also the platting procedures. The plat is another way provided by the Land Division Act to divide land. A secondary option provided by state law is the Condominium Act, and that's the act by which we're appealing here to divide the land. So in the ordinance, it requires a special procedure, as Lynn teed up, for us to present to you and work through this site condominium procedure. Don't be too confused by the condominium word. We often think of, attached units, but these are single-family, detached home sites. As was mentioned, we are not proposing a PUD, but we are showing a by right layout, conforming with all the site regulating standards of the existing zoning. And this property's existing zoning is R2, medium density zoning district, which permits, as mentioned, half-acre lots with 100 feet of road frontage when served by public sanitary sewer. We are proposing 36 home sites. It was mentioned the 2 land divisions. Those would be by the way of the Land Division Act. And those 2 homes would be served by private septics. They would not be served by the municipal sewer. That's why, part of the reason why they are larger. They meet the minimum dimensional standards and mimic the other home sites along 66 there. The road, we are proposing a single private drive to serve the site condo home sites. The road is designed to satisfy section 3.29 of the zoning ordinance. So we're providing a 66-foot private easement, private road easement. The road is proposed to be 24 feet in width and sidewalks, as was mentioned, on both sides. The road entrance, where it connects to Whitneyville, has been through preliminary review with the Kent County Road Commission. They've taken a look at it, evaluated it as far as location and sight lines and so forth. We received their guidance, and we are proposing to extend the left turn lane northward to the project entrance. And you can see that depicted, especially on sheet 205. Let's see, 205, I gotta go one more. You can see the proposed 3-lane expansion. That taper is pushed northward, basically continuing the existing lane configuration in that area and pushing it northward. A utility plan, the sheet C300 is also included in our submittal set. The sanitary sewer would connect to the sanitary sewer main that lives in a public utility easement to the south side of the property on the Kaiser Street public or private road. I'll show you that. Maybe I can. There's a public sanitary sewer easement that lives in this area. We're proposing to connect it to this area south in that direction where it's served by gravity method. The proposed schematic design of the sanitary has been reviewed by the township engineer. We incorporated his numbering guidance on that. Private wells would be used to serve each home. Wetlands, there was a wetland consultant secured to evaluate the site for wetlands. There are some wetlands on the property, some of which are regulated by the state of Michigan via Eagle, and some of which do not fit the categories, the standards for state regulation. No impact to regulated wetland is proposed for this property. We've shown a grading and drainage plan. We are proposing 2 stormwater detention areas, one to the north and one to the east. There's also a pipe network that's proposed to convey the water to those areas. And of course, the stormwater management features provide for water quality, for channel protection. We met with the township consulting engineer. We worked out a couple small changes that we think would benefit the project that were slight updates from what you've seen. But basically, we would amend a couple of the pipes, and I can walk you through that if you'd like to know more about that. We are presenting a landscape plan with a submittal set. This illustrates proposed street trees in accordance with the ordinance. And we're showing some tree preservations areas, especially along the southern boundary where that was a point of emphasis. Now, many more of the trees on the site will be preserved, and we just didn't illustrate those as thoroughly. This is a conceptual, illustrative site plan, but there are a lot of other areas in the project where the trees will be preserved, and as requested, we'd be happy to enumerate those and articulate those with a resubmittal if that's with an updated plan if that's appropriate. In fact, we may need to, we've already had an engineer look at adjusting some of the grading to preserve as much trees as is possible. So in summary, the proposed Holly Ridge site condominium is in alignment with the standards and the goals of Caledonia Township as articulated in the zoning ordinance and in the master plan. The proposed single-family homes on large wooded sites fit the context of the area, add to the housing mix, and offer township residents the opportunity to live and play in a beautiful community. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Sure. Okay, following up on stormwater that Commissioner Visser talked about. So, first comment is whenever we can have one pond, we try to have one pond. When we have two ponds, that means we have smaller pipes that have smaller outlets that are more likely to get clogged. And then the system doesn't work as intended because a lot of people that live in neighborhoods don't know a lot about retention ponds and how to care for them. And then everything that we did is for nothing. So,
Understand.
in general, it looks like the whole, well, not all, the vast majority of the site does drain to the northeast corner, so shouldn't we just have one bigger pond in the northeast corner?
It's a fair question. The topography of the site is such, and I'm gonna switch to this. You can see a ridge line that runs kind of in this direction. And there's two major ways this thing drains. There's some that pushes up this way, and then there's some that pushes up this way. So if it was, if I'm gonna use my pencil, if this thing was dead flat like a hillside here, and it all wanted to go the same direction, it would be easy, and my engineers would love me forever if all the sites were perfectly easy. And in this case, we do have some topography here. This naturally kind of wants to push this way. Some of this on the very south wants to push this way, and some wants to push this way. So we're trying to gather these areas, and you can see all the topographic contours of this area that wants to push here. We're going to gather this in the proposed road, detain it, slowly let it out. Same thing here. For the rest of this area, we're going to gather it and push it to this lower area of upland into this detention basin. So you see our pipe network here gathers the stormwater for some of the impervious surface and sends it to be detained to this area. So yes, it would be delightful if we could make the topography work for it all, but some of it is wanting to come down into this area. And we would gather these more northerly regions here. You can see our pipe network gathering it here before a slow release.
Sure, but I also understand gravity, and the contours from the pond on the north all flow down to the next pond as well. So your argument doesn't really hold a lot of water for me.
Well, let's see if you have a red line here. This is crude, but hopefully helpful. So,
Hold on,
yep,
you gotta
Slide it
adjust.
over a little.
yep. So you can see one of my engineers I work with marked this up. And these red arrows here generally reflect the direction of this water wants to go. So this water here wants to come this way. This water here is pushing here, pushing here. This is like a trough that kind of comes and pushes it this way. This water comes here. So the drainage regimen, does have these two ponds, but it was a practical way to gather that stormwater. The township consulting engineer, Todd Vorman, has reviewed these plans, issued his memo as well. He's looked it over and affirmed the general scheme. He had a few concerns about making sure we minimize any drainage to this area, which we've accommodated, but overall he's reviewed, and the big picture, he is in agreement that the general plan would work.
So how would you mitigate rear yard drainage in lots 32 through 22 that would all drain onto other people's property?
I'm sorry, where?
Lots 32 through 22?
32 through 22?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. There is some commercial sites here. There's some outlet here. We're proposing to pass this through, right? So we're gonna be creating a road.
Hold on, you gotta adjust your plan.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. So we're gonna do some grading here. This water would become and be picked up. Yeah. Some water that would come from this site would be picked and passed through here. The rest of this water would kind of flow over the top. This would be picked up here and proceed, because everything, all the impervious surface that we need to collect and detain, the Elgro standards. So we're gonna be picking up this water here and putting it into our system to be detained. So this backward water would come here. This is a hill, comes down 15, 10, 800. So it would be a drainage way this way. This water comes here, gets picked up here. This water is naturally right now coming and proceeding here. However, some of that in the backyards we're gonna pick up here and here. This is
You're
lower.
off the,
Can you scoot
Yeah,
your off?
sorry.
scooch it, nope,
Chin up,
nope,
the other up.
the other way.
The other
There you go.
up, the other left. I have to write left and right on my hands too. This water in these backyards will get picked up here. This area is kind of this natural retention, what's happening here. We're not gonna send any more water here. In fact, we're probably gonna reduce it by picking it up here and sending it here to be detained. This, as we proceed to the lake, is lower, so we have enough fall to transport this water to here by a system of pipes.
Okay, so that end section in between lots 25 and 24, that is an inlet, not an outlet?
Correct, yes.
So your storm sewer is gonna be really deep in the road?
There will be some areas here where it's fairly deep, yep. But there is a good positive fall from this backyard to our proposed detention. This is like, oh, this is not more than a like, it's exactly 786, and here we're a 772. So from here to here, don't do math live in front of a studio audience, but
14.
yeah, 14 feet, so.
Okay, I don't know. I feel better that you have a solution. This doesn't match the plan that I have, so.
Correct. We met with Todd and he expressed a couple of his concerns. I said, well, should we reissue this plan? He said, no, we'll save some trees, but you can articulate to the planning commission at the meeting a couple of the changes that we discussed. I think he even reviewed after with Lene, but he's updated his memo and said, yep, as long as they're providing stormwater calculations, this scheme will work for the drainage.
Okay, let's go back to the north pond on lot A and B and the potential property split. I'm not super familiar with how the splits happen. So again, your plan's a little different than the one that I have. Can lot A and B just be split north of the pond and then the pond can be a part of the condominium development?
So the minimum size, Lene, is what, 1.5 acres?
No, the minimum size is an acre.
Is an acre? Okay. It may be achievable to include it as
It just
parts
seems
of.
an awful lot cleaner.
Yep. So we did some further calculations from our initial plan. The size of the area that we needed to detain was reduced, so we're able to reduce the size of that. So we're probably close. We could probably achieve that.
All right, well, in general, I still think one pond would be better than two, but if we're gonna do two, having the second pond actually in the condo association makes a lot more sense to me. Last thing is, did you consider putting the main access driveway off of 66th instead of Whitneyville? Would that be safer? Was that a part of your thought process at all?
Certainly was some of the thought process. The main consideration there was service with sanitary sewer. There's a hill here, you come up and then you start to come back down here and you start to come back down here. So in order to successfully serve the units, provide for the advantages of the sanitary sewer, this areas were much harder to service. Then you're looking at things like lift pumps, private lift services and stuff like that. It gets cumbersome and tricky. So coming up here, there's actually sewer that lives here in Whitneyville, and there's existing sanitary with laterals there. So that was, somebody had the foresight to add those to potentially service. So we're gonna we would take advantage of that. We we have no longer have issues with some of this grade. This can proceed then towards the south. So that was some of the advantages of having the entry point on Whitneyville.
How far could you serve the development using the sewer that exists in Whitneyville? What if you served it from two directions and ran a new main from Whitneyville?
Not enough depth there. We can serve the first two lots.
I think that's all I've got for now, Mr. Chair.
As long as we're talking about that north, pond landscaping and or fencing around it, I didn't see anything, on that.
You know,
on the
if I could
plan.
clarify, it's not a pond, it's
I understand.
a drain dry basin. So get a heavy rain, it's gonna be wet for a little while, but most of the time it would be dry. And we're talking fairly gentle slopes, the entire basin from this point to here is only, 3 feet deep.
I'm not a real estate attorney, but that's even more reason, in my opinion, that the pond should be a part of the condominium association. I would, worst case scenario, if homeowner A's child drowns in the pond,
I'm sorry, there's no pond, it's not a wet.
there is when it rains. It fills up, right? And it
There
takes at
there
least a
could
day to
be
drain.
some,
So yes, it's wet sometimes. Thank
The
you.
depth can be determined when it actually happens.
there will not be long-term standing water. Thanks.
Mr. Visser?
I'm also just a lot more comfortable, I guess, with that north detention pond that's currently located outside. It is not a common element. I'm not saying this can't work. I'm not a huge proponent of it. I would much rather see that under the fee simple control of the condominium association as a common element. It bothers me, just the potential of kind of what could go wrong again. I can't say that I've seen that before, where an association or where detention is off-site, so, I can't say that, I'm not gonna say that it can't work, but it seems irregular to me and is a bit troublesome.
I think it would be achievable to include it in within the condominium boundaries.
Kyle or Stan or Diane, John?
Have you thought about the values of the condos that you're looking at putting in there?
We are targeting 600 to 900.
Well, given that, I do have a couple comments. You have a very optimized site for making a profit. But having maybe added a couple of lots, rather than centralizing your detention on the east side, which I think you could have done if you maybe didn't have 16 and or 17 there, and pushed it off of the condominium itself, I think that there's room for improvement on the plan. And whether that is simply getting the detention onto the condominium, or perhaps if it involved taking that entrance and putting it on 66th Street. I think there are better ways to do this that would be better for the people who are gonna live in the neighborhood in the future. I don't know, do any of my fellow commissioners have a thought about that?
I do, but I was gonna continue.
I'm done, that's all I wanted to say.
I have concerns, I know the county doesn't have concerns because they don't live out here. The road location relative to Whitneyville and 68th Street
And 66.
and 66, it's, those of us who travel that area know that's,
Rough stretch.
say difficult at times. Though I also understand making a left on, or southbound from 66 isn't enjoyable to do either. I'm hung up on, you know, I get the fact that this is a way to split, and it is getting the maximum amount, but we're significantly more than, you know, by right of a site condominium, it's this, but by right of the average person developing it out would be, you know, by that other right, would only be 12, 13, whatever the number is, under the new system. So we have a significant larger quantity of lots than we started with, which I think kind of goes back to your point of the access on Whitneyville. There's a lot of cars,
Yeah,
or not.
it's, that area's gotten better with the light at 68th Street. It does give us a little bit of a chance to get onto Whitneyville now. But I just think this level of density should be built in a way that doesn't compromise safety for the residents or the long-term sustainability of the drainage system.
I think my only thing I would say about looking at that exit onto 66 is we could run into the same problems though too, right? If people dump off there, and then like to your point, making that left there is not necessarily fun either. So if we're dumping people out and then they're trying to get to M6 or East Beltline, we, you know, could run into the same problems. We're just jamming up 66 as well.
Well, and all of it relates to the density of the neighborhood and the number of trips you're gonna have.
I mean, I'd feel better if it lined up with 68th Street and we had a traffic light controlling it. But it doesn't. There's a building in the way.
I think when they put that building there, they wanted to build 1 or 2 lots behind it. Nah, that's immaterial.
The only thing I like about pushing the traffic to 66 is as development continues in this portion of our township, someday a light is gonna be warranted at Whitneyville and 66, like what has just happened at 68. And continuing to concentrate all that traffic at one main intersection, I think is better for overall traffic flow and safety.
I mean, I feel more comfortable. I don't like the density, but I feel more comfortable if it's going off 66th Street. To your point, eventually there will have to be a light there. We started the clock ticking when we put the light at 68th Street, because it's just, there's not enough space to get people in and out on 66th Street with with a pack of cars, either coming from Whitneyville or 68th. It's pretty constant. I'd really like to see another plan with that option, but
So-
I'm only one.
Would you propose then taking the road out like Lot A, like retention pond to 66th? I don't know any other way.
Yeah, and you would probably wanna line it up with that driveway that exists across the street.
Mhm.
Again, just my own thoughts.
My thoughts are that, if we're just gonna have general thoughts, my thoughts are that perhaps this could be done better, but it looks like it meets the requirements. So that's kind of where I'm at, is maybe it could be done better, but so to me, that's the big question. I mean, do we want, is that our job to say that, we don't want traffic going out onto Whitneyville? Probably, perhaps, or is that more of like a, MDOT Kent County Road Commission type of deal to make those determinations as to whether or not, people are gonna be able to make a left?
sort of stuff.
Well, I started all this, so I'll put my opinion out there. I agree with you, Donovan, that this is feasible, probably, certainly a lot of thought's gone into it to make it work out. I wish the priorities had been a little bit different on what was optimized for. And I think that it could have been better optimized for the people who are gonna live in the neighborhood. And that's my opinion. I cannot say that you can't build this, I would not say that. And so that's my last word on it, I'm not gonna run my mouth anymore.
Well, I'm always opposed to smaller lots anyways. I mean, I don't have a problem saying this, I was opposed to Graymore lot sizes, I was opposed to a lot of the development lot sizes that
I agree with you.
are small. I think, you know, if we wanna talk about rural character, I don't think a half acre lot size is rural, at least not where I came from,
Right.
so.
But that's apparently what our board has determined is, you know, what's allowable within different zoning sets, right? And so, I don't know if that's, again, something we may wanna
Look at.
we may wanna look at is, you know, what our zoning allows for and maybe changing, you know, some of those criteria in the future, but as we sit here today, I mean, this looks like a project that, except for the fact that the retention pond is off-site, I would probably have to say it meets requirements.
I would echo everything you said. I don't love the density either, but that being said, it is what it is, right? I mean, if that's the guidelines we have to follow from the board, then, you know, there's not much we can do.
So, housekeeping, item 9 would be a requirement to have the north detention pond included as part of the development. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's included as part of the condominium.
Or part of condominium. North detention pond, right? I saw you had red ink.
It was just a question.
Oh. All right, we've added item 9. Any other conditions that need to be added? Yes, ma'am.
May I just make a comment? While we were chit-chatting, I brought up the traffic counts.
Mm-hmm.
And the count between 66th Street and 68th Street is about 9,300 cars per day. And that is by far the highest count in that whole area. It's significantly lower. 6,000 north of 66. It's 5,300 on 68th Street. So that little stretch has the highest traffic count.
I mean, I'm back to that. I'm, with the traffic light there, I'm super concerned about people making lefts, AKA souths, out of that drive. It's gonna be brutal.
Yeah, I think it's already difficult if you are trying to get from 66th onto Whitneyville, southbound Whitneyville.
Which goes back to Mr. Bradshaw's point. Eventually, there'll be a light at 66, hopefully somewhat timed with the 68th Street light. We can hope. And getting it that direction, I mean, because let's be honest, they're gonna be going to the school.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna be going, they're
Campo
gonna
Corn.
want them beginning to get to 68th Street.
But even if you put them on 66, I mean, all that traffic that you just mentioned, going to school and all that sort of stuff, it all ends up on Whitneyville anyway, right?
Mhm.
It does. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it's a, if there's a light at 66, it creates a much safer.
And-
Well, and it's true that the county is responsible for the
Right.
roads.
Right,
Um,
but we have to be
But they're not
aware of
very
it.
responsive, and it's a very, very long time cycle to get anything changed, so. uh, Yeah. I said I wasn't gonna say anymore, I'm sorry.
No. It's all valuable information.
Well, are you looking for a motion?
We gotta have something.
I will make a motion, let me make sure I understand what I'm,
Motioning.
a motion to, let's see, we are sending this to,
It's a motion to approve the, or, I don't know which way you're going, but it's a motion for the preliminary site condominium.
okay, so I've moved that we, that we recommend to the township board that the preliminary site condo be accepted with the 8 requirements that you had in your memo. And then the ninth requirement, add that the north detention pond be included as part of the condominium development on the actual condominium property.
Motion by Everly,
I'll support.
support by Clement. Any further discussion?
No, so we go to a vote?
Yep. Roll call. Clement,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Everly,
Yes,
Visser,
Yes.
Cutler.
Yes,
Curtis votes no. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item 6B, site plan review for Goodwill Retail Building in the Cherry Meadows site condominium at 6459 and 6463 Cherry Meadow Drive Southeast. All right, starting over. Site plan review for a Goodwill Retail Building in the Cherry Meadows site condominium at 6459 and 6463 Cherry Meadows Drive Southeast. Parcel 412321 152 007 and 008. Ms. Linay.
Okay, sorry, I'm a little distracted. All right, this is the project for a Goodwill Retail, in the Cherry Meadows Business Park. We have an application from Pure Architects, their engineers, Excel Engineering. This is located in the C2 General Business District. It's also in the Broadmoor and Cherry Valley overlay. The project includes a 15,000 square foot retail building for Goodwill Industries. A portion of that building is utilized for clothes sorting, kind of more of that warehousing, merchandising area. And then they have about 2/3 of the building that is used for the retail business. 54 parking spaces are proposed. Their site plan does reflect the modified right-of-way and grading easements from MDOT related to the widening of Broadmoor. That was something that came up when you all looked at the site condominium. We reviewed the proposed site. The setbacks are met. The buildings and structures are organized in a way that facilitates orderly traffic flow within the development. There is a truck dock that's proposed on the north facade of the building. That truck dock would have 1 truck trip per day. It's used for loading and unloading goods. It's about 220 feet from the nearest dwelling. The driveway meets the township requirements, and Cherry Meadows Drive is a private road. We did include a condition that a barrier-free sidewalk connection from the building entry to the non-motorized pathway along Broadmoor be provided. The township engineer has reviewed this and has comments in his report. We did review the landscape plan. The plan is well-designed, detailed, and it meets the ordinance requirements. We did note that while they meet the ordinance requirements with respect to all the plant materials, quantities and plant species. It is a commercial use directly adjacent to residential. I did say that it's 220 feet to the nearest dwelling, but with the way that the drives are arranged, there could be a potential to perhaps include a berm, some kind of low berm, especially along the pavement area at the north side of the parking lot, east of the truck dock. I mean, it's shown as planted for meadow grass, and then the landscape buffer is along the residential edge. But it might be something to talk through with the applicant about a low berm that would block headlights. In terms of screening, we included a condition that any at-grade mechanicals are fully screened, and that we also note that the truck dock is screened with, or I'm sorry, not the truck dock, the loading area, the drop-off area has a screening component to it. And traffic flows through a covered portico almost that they drive through to drop off their goods, and then they can pull through that area and return out to Cherry Meadows. In terms of lighting, the lighting plan meets our ordinance standards. I do want to ask that the applicant talk a little bit about interior light from the entry tower. They're proposing this kind of grand entry that has windows around it, and I was curious if that would be lit up at night or if that interior light would also be dimmed after hours, given the proximity to the residential development. There are no outdoor storage areas nor exterior dumpster. All of that is internal to the site. But we also do have that truck area, and I'm not sure if the truck will be parked overnight in that location. We include a standard that signage comply with our township ordinances, and that would be reviewed at a later date by the zoning administrator. The parking meets the ordinance requirements, but we did note that they are separating the building uses from retail to more of that operation side. And if they simply do the parking calculation for the retail area and then do the calculation factor for the kind of the sorting and operations, they could reduce some of their parking that they're showing on the plan. Now, that might be contradictory to their operations, but there could be less parking if they only calculated the retail area for that portion where they do have the merchandise out for sale. In terms of the building and site amenities, the applicant is seeking a waiver to our architectural standards. They are looking to have a waiver from the east facade facing Cherry Meadows Drive. They are showing enough transparency to meet the ordinance on that edge, but facing Broadmoor, they only have 38% of the required facade and transparent, non-reflective, non-tinted glass. They're also calculating the glazing from 2 feet to 12 feet, since the ground elevation is significantly lower on the site compared to where Broadmoor is. It's kind of like the Tractor Supply, where that site is kind of lower than the elevation at Broadmoor. We'd also like to see a little bit more detail and specs related to the exact glass to be used to ensure it's clear, non-tinted, and non-reflective. Their note does mention that it's clear glass. However, we have requested samples in the past, and I don't see the specific kind of model and type number. We also had questions about the mesh panel on the north elevation. Just wanted to have more understanding on what that's going to be looking like. Storefront entries. The entries meet the standard, but we would like to see, again, more detail on the glass, and we did have that question about the interior lighting. In terms of the other standards, the standard number H, the pilasters, they shall project 3 inches from the building wall. When I look at the plans, the building looks like it's just a flat edge. There are no projections. So that we had questions about that, especially along Broadmoor. So other than those items related to whether the berm should be in place by the parking, and the interior access area, the architectural standards and the transparency requirements, and then the mesh, what that mesh looks like, and then the placement of the truck dock and the trucking, and just clarifying how that operation happens. And then the parking. I mean, those are the main things from the site plan review that we noticed. The applicant did secure preliminary site condominium amendment by the planning commission. It still needs to go to the township board. So no building permits could be issued until that happens. And I know the applicant's in the process of working through that. You'll recall that also with that condominium request, we did have the requirement that the road and the sidewalks and that infrastructure be in place prior to building permit here. Because there was that deliberation whether who had responsibility for those infrastructure improvements, the condo association or the developer.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lene. Anybody have any quick questions for Lene?
Just a quick question, you're talking about east side of the building not having enough glass, is that right?
It would be the
The west.
west side
West
facing
side.
Broadmoor, correct.
Okay, and why don't they wanna put the additional glass in there? Is there a,
That would be a great question for them. It could be because of the racking inside. You know, the building having those 2 separate areas where the operations and kind of more of that interior storage, perhaps seeing into that space may not be as appealing
Okay.
as the retail space. Maybe there's more opportunity to have more glazing on that south portion of the building where the retailing is occurring.
That's a very low traffic area compared to Broadmoor. I mean, we're talking about the side that faces Broadmoor, correct?
The side that faces Broadmoor has less glazing than is required.
And many, many more people are gonna go by there than are
Yes.
gonna be in their parking.
That's true, correct. Yes, that is the kind of our main street. We've
Yeah.
talked about Broadmoor being our main
Yeah.
street.
All right. Is someone here from the applicant? Otherwise, it'll be a very short meeting.
Yeah,
Do you want my plans?
well, I can plug in, but I know you all have the same material as
Okay, yeah, if you
I
want
am
to plug in.
able to present today, but, good evening, Aaron Taylor with Pure Architects, representing Goodwill. Oops. Sorry about this.
Never does that. Every now and then. Fingers crossed. Hey, it actually worked tonight.
Great.
We love tech.
It's great when it works. All right. Also have John Mail with Excel here, so any engineering questions, I'm gonna kick it over
Can
to
I,
him.
can I just give you half a second?
Yes.
This is the last lot in the condominium, correct?
Correct.
And it's allowed by the condominium as a use in that?
Correct, yeah, retail, yep.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I think I just pulled it up so you can see we're looking at combination units, which we, again, obtained preliminary approval for. So we're using the last 2 building sites. Just very quickly about some of the strategy around where this building's located on its site. Obviously, we have residential neighbors to the north and to the east. So much of the intensity of the development, the parking lot, the building's front is all really oriented to the south. We've pushed everything as close as we could to that southern half of the site. I wanted to address this topic of the transparency requirements, and certainly we wouldn't identify it as a hardship, but this site does have two frontages, as mentioned. So the private drive off Cherry Meadow is considered a front. Broadmoor is considered a front. And then further, as a sort of stretching the design here a little bit, we have the front of the building, which is facing the parking lot. So a combination of all these factors, we've really tried to push the architecture to bring a lot of transparency and daylight into the space, which if you've been to a Goodwill store, you'll actually see quite a bit of daylight compared to other retailers. So again, we're just kind of identifying the challenges of trying to get retail space and wall space for retailing goods against some of the considerations. So I think if you do take a look at the elevations, you'll see a very nice building presented to the east, to visitors and residents to the east, of course, that have to look at this building. And similarly to the south elevation, as you come northbound on Broadmoor, you're going to see, we think, quite a bit of the south elevation of this building. So I think the last thing I would point out is, if you're familiar with driving by this site, you'll notice that there is quite a bit of existing vegetation here where Cherry Valley Road and Broadmoor split, which we are proposing to retain. So again, there's quite a bit of landscape buffer that screens this building from that intersection, such that maybe you might not as heavily consider the visibility of the building and the transparency requirements therein. And then finally, I would just point out, as Lene was articulating, the back half of this building is sort of the donation center as goods are dropped off at the canopy here. So this box here is our retail, which contains quite a bit of glazing on three sides. And then that truck dock is a 2-bay dock on the north side of the site. All of the associated paving you see is required for truck turning. That is one truck trip a day, so fairly minimal. And again, operationally, that's the only sort of service component to this building when it is open. So with that, certainly take any questions. As I said, John is here as well to speak to anything related to engineering.
All right, just going around the exterior of the building where you're just showing that picture there.
Yeah.
You got the, can you go back to the grading plan?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, so where we have all the kind of cross-hatching, darker green showing the vegetation around the exterior of the building there.
Yes.
Is that all gonna be essentially at the same grade?
Yes. Yeah, site's essentially, we'll be having to import a lot of fill to get this site to a buildable state, but it is effectively level for the area that you're seeing here.
Okay, but we're not gonna be, so there's not gonna be any tail down on that side of the hill where you're gonna see from Cherry Valley as you're essentially headed out here toward the village. We're not gonna see like foundation of the building or
Oh, no.
anything like that. I mean, it's all gonna be.
Yeah.
Okay,
All flat here along this edge, landscape buffer, you can see the proposed tree plantings. And then we have, again, towards the front of the building on the south side, that perimeter landscaping to dress it up.
okay, and then stay on this plan here, if you can, tab it down a little bit so I can
yeah.
see other side, go the other way.
Oh.
All right, so I see you got a whole bunch of plantings over here on the north, what you call the north side yard there?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else that we could do as far as like trying to get this grade up and maybe put a berm over here to maybe take down some of the strobing from the cul-de-sac?
Oh, so you're speaking to a berm in this
Yeah, I'm
section?
talking about basically what I see is the biggest problem for the people that live in the neighborhood here is that when somebody rolls up into this cul-de-sac here, you know, if it's
I see.
if we're at daylight savings time, you know, you come up here and basically these people, the backs of their houses or apartment units are all gonna get you know, shined with lights. That's what I see as a potential issue, just as far as you know, this, interplay between the two zones that are butted up against one another.
And I don't wanna lose any of the landscaping and substitute it with a berm.
No, it'd be a berm and landscape.
Okay, I just
That's what I would advocate.
clear that we're on
Yeah.
the same page there.
Yep.
All right, again, half a step back. You're in possession of both the Caledonia the Charter Township Planning Commission memo dated March 9th and the Vries and Cahoon memo from March
Yeah.
9th.
I haven't heard of.
Any comments on these other than the items that we're gonna talk about the architectural standards and that kind of stuff? Okay,
I'll just speak to one.
you gotta get up to the mic or I get yelled at.
John Mail with Excel Engineering. I guess the only thing that I would point out is we intend to build the cul-de-sac with the parking lot and the rest of the building. So, you know, to build that first and then get the building permit is a little bit of a hardship on schedule. So that's just something that I would like to point out.
I'm not tracking.
We can talk about that since that's related to the site condo, yeah.
Group.
Sure, I have a few questions. So, just quick Google Maps searching of other local Goodwills in the area. Some have dumpsters, some don't. As somebody who donates to Goodwill and other similar organizations, I often bring my stuff in a big box or trash bags. I mean, there's trash generated by the site. What do you do with it? How does this work without a dumpster?
Yeah, I can speak. Dave Burns, I work, I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Goodwill. We're kind of a unique Goodwill. When you look at other Goodwills, all of our trash is brought inside. We bring it back to our main facility on Prairie Street where we handle it all. So there's no trash that goes out, you know, that we store outside. Everything's stored inside.
Is that one of the key components of your daily semi-trip? Or, I mean, are you picking up clothes and trash every day in that
Correct.
semi?
Yeah, so we have one truck or one delivery every single day that will bring new material to the store and then takes out, you know, the trash, things that we didn't sell, those type of things.
I guess kind of still focusing on the truck dock. If you only have one truck per day, help me understand why you need two loading.
We will have one trailer that will stay, so we do a swap out. So we have one trailer that's being filled up during the day for the store operation. And then in the morning, a new trailer will come, they'll unlock, or they'll unload that trailer, leave that trailer there, pick up the full trailer and off it goes. And that's usually done first thing in the morning, even before the store opens.
Okay. There was a comment about potentially reducing parking. Does that make common sense to you as a consideration, or do you want to have all the parking that's shown?
We'd rather keep the parking if possible.
From a business operations standpoint, you really think you're gonna be?
Yeah, on the weekends is where we really see it. Otherwise, I'm afraid people will be parking on the cul-de-sac.
Only other suggestion that I had was maybe considering putting the handicap parking where the 4 is shown on this print, just so that if you're on crutches or wheelchair, you're right at the sidewalk and don't have to cross the parking lot, but maybe that doesn't work. I just wanted
No, we could do that.
We may be able to. I think it actually doesn't fit.
Yeah, there's 5 spaces there.
Or 4,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
4 doesn't, but we could do most of them there. Meet you halfway.
Okay. And then there wasn't, the topography shown on the prints didn't go far enough south, and I didn't have a chance to drive out there before the meeting today. I thought maybe it would make sense to add a couple additional catch basins, and this would probably be more for John, on the existing storm sewer that kind of crosses the proposed road, just only having the one catch basin at the end of the cul-de-sac, if we get a really heavy storm, I'm just worried if it's gonna have enough capacity to take everything. You get what I'm saying?
You're talking the north catch basin in the cul-de-sac.
In the cul-de-sac itself?
Yeah, and so I'm saying there's a manhole kind of at the southern driveway, first where storm sewer crosses the road. What if you just pop 2 catch basins in the curb line? So go south a little bit?
Yeah, I think where the credit union is, that's where the high point of that road is, so
Okay, so
it's not too
catching
much further
Yeah.
than what is shown. But
Okay.
I think initially I was calling it out for a kind of a double grate opening to provide more.
And last thing for me, while we're zoomed in here, it does look like you're filling in the detention pond some, not having the details of what the overflow structure elevation is and everything. I just want to make sure you're not taking any capacity out of the pond with that fill.
No, kind of by where that fence, the fence line, which is kind of where the X's are,
Yeah.
is the high water level of that pond, so we are changing some of the slope, but not reducing any of the capacity, the volume of that.
Thank you.
I have a question. Why do we need a cul-de-sac?
The cul-de-sac? That was required by the fire department during our condominium review of this project. It had initially connected through Clover Court into Jasonville. And the agreement was made that an extension to that T intersection would be provided and that the cul-de-sac could be, what the cul-de-sac was agreed to, and that's what the fire department prefers versus utilizing the parking lot as a turnaround.
I mean, they're the only use back there to put a cul-de-sac in.
Yeah. I think it's just for fire trucks.
I'd really like to have a conversation with Scott about that one. Few other things. What's the direction of flow for the drop-off, north to south or south to north?
Yes, it is south to north. We're anticipating them to drive under the canopy here.
So that's gonna add light to the north.
Yes, the headlights would face the residential.
So most people, is the double doors where you haul the the donations in? So they're gonna pull the car past that point, so the trunk or back end or trailer or whatever they're using to get to those doors. So ultimately, you just have stacking behind it, waiting to get to that point, correct?
I think Dave could probably speak to this too. In our observations, every transaction is a little bit different, but most people are assisted by a Goodwill employee when they pull up. They come and either help you unload your vehicle or take the items from your vehicle, and then they'll be deposited in bins here. So I think yes, likely a car might stack behind another one waiting for donation to occur.
I think you know where I'm going. We have this beautiful cul-de-sac sitting over there that we don't know why is there. Why can't the route go and drop off
This way.
that way?
It could, that would be fine. We just know the nature of our customers, how they normally go. We have the option at most of our stores, you can go either way, and we try to direct them, but they kind of go the easiest route.
Well, I understand.
But we
One-way-
definitely could,
One-way signs and.
we could do the signage to make it go the other way, which would be,
The one in Kentwood off 29th Street is similar to what you're talking about. It's kind of get away from the building and then pull close to it. later.
Yeah, we definitely can sign it to go that way, just can't guarantee it.
Well, agree. Spike strips, that'll work.
That's something we haven't tried before.
Pan to the north, yeah, like the rental car,
Yeah,
spike
yeah, that'd be
strips, I
cool.
guarantee. One person do it, the rest will learn. So talking about that berm, I'm thinking that let's go from Tim's favorite spot, the 12-inch water main, north, right there. Somewhere, yeah, not that far, but somewhere along that, you zoomed out, but I can't read it, the 786, I guessed right, along that 786, 787 line, having a berm or something through there, headlight wise, you following what I'm saying, Donovan?
Yeah.
Across that section, they'll sweep in from, if you can zoom out a little bit. As they're coming in the angle, right, that will catch the headlights there, they turn around. The truck, there's not much we can do with that, that would be a huge berm, so I wanna relook at the landscaping that direction, make sure it's okay. But would you be unopposed to having some form of a berm through that section? I don't think it messes up your stormwater. Excel. Any?
Or would an opaque fence work too?
I'm not,
Or no? No, a berm. So along the north edge of the pavement area, from the truck dock to the east,
to the east, you know, I would say up to that
water main?
12-inch water main easement. That way you don't have to dig deeper when you have to fix it. You know, taper down and.
It's not a big deal to dig through 5 feet for.
I know. On your, that's a question.
So are we opposed? Is that the question? If that's a condition of the approval, I think we would accept it.
I think it just became one, so. Yeah, so flow north to south, berm, helping with that. I'd like to point out that change to the condition number 3, lighting shall be on a timer and dimmed after hours per our lighting ordinance, not the ASHRAE standards. Know that the lighting design does not meet all the requirements of our lighting ordinance. I do want to have a different discussion about the truck dock. I'm not real enamored that there's going to be a truck trailer sitting there overnight. I'd prefer not to have anything sitting there. But worse than that, in my opinion, is on the lighting plan. Sorry. Yep, zoom in on that lighting, on the truck dock area. You got a lot of light, and if there's gonna be a truck park, a trailer park there, that light's absolutely useless. So, I'm not sure what you're trying to accomplish by putting lighting there. If there's a trailer to the north, you're lighting a bay with nothing, and if the trailer's the south, you're lighting it, and it's all, the neighbors get to see the side of this trailer sitting there. It's pretty hot underneath there, as we say in the lighting parlance. I'm not sure that, I don't know how many lights. I see just one wall pack in there, and I have a hard time believing there's gotta be better ways to do that. That's not gonna make that so bright underneath there. That's what the neighbors are gonna be looking at. Now, and to go along, because you're not familiar with our lighting ordinance, those lights have to be either turned off an hour after you close, or dimmed all the way down to 30%. And I will make sure that happens.
Yep.
I will be your worst nightmare when I drive by and I see those lights on. So I think you need to relook at what you're doing in there. I'm not happy that there's a truck being left there overnight. I don't know if anybody else has any opinions on that as well. So there's that. We have the architectural standards we have yet to talk about. The easy one's the flat wall, right? We need some sort of bump out on the wall, right, Ms. Linay?
Yes, correct.
On that face, and it has to be
3 inches.
3 inches every so often, correct?
Yeah, the pilasters are there, but it's just, when you look at the site plan, there's no differentiation in the edge there.
Sure, if I may, those are intended to be approximately like 4-inch brick pilasters, so there should be a relief if it wasn't read in the plan. That might have been just a graphical issue.
Okay.
All right, as long as we have that west elevation up, because that's the side everybody's gonna see. What's going on where we can't put windows in that one bay?
Yeah.
Explain that to us.
Sure, there's a demising wall between the warehouse and the retail, so the back of house and the front of house that falls in here, so we elected to omit the glazing in that section.
I don't see that as a reason not to put glazing there. I mean, you're gonna have a wall edge, 4 inches. in
No,
there.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. I mean, it can be accomplished. I mean, I have commercial buildings where we have, we got 3 windows and we got one office has got 2 of the windows, one office has got 1 of the windows. I mean, run that 2x4 right up into the,
Mullion and call
right
it good.
in between, you gotta do it on where the piece of metal is, but it can be done, I think. So, I agree with you, it's not as attractive as our standards call for.
Anybody have any issues with that?
I guess the question though, with that glazing, is that all clear glazing? It just doesn't, it's not rendered the same way as the storefront glazing.
Yeah, I think it's an issue of just the way in which the model rendered, but that is all intended to be clear glazing. All of the glass you see is clear.
All right, you also brought up, Ms. Linay, what's the lighting in the tower? The idea is we don't want a lighthouse for the neighbors to also look at.
Yeah, I appreciate the feedback on this subject. We haven't yet actually developed a lighting control strategy for what that would be. I think if there was guidance from you that you wanted to see this similarly controlled like the exterior lighting or off entirely, we could respond to that feedback as appropriate.
Just a note where sign E is, put the letters EXIT on that.
Got it.
He's got that in his notes already. I think, yeah, having lights out after you're closed in that tower would be a good idea. I mean, unless it's a very subtle effect to have it. But I think in general, people go home and they don't necessarily want to be reminded of businesses next door, so.
You're talking subtle, like the Celebration Cinemas?
No, not that kind of stuff.
No, that's not even a word I Not should that kind of use. subtle? That's not the kind of word I should use.
What are the hours, business hours?
As far as being open to the public, it is 9 to 7. But we'll have staff there earlier than that, you know, to get the store ready. I'm sorry, 9 to 8. I misspoke.
Mr. Clement, Mr. McLean, Ms. Cutler.
I would just say, I mean, I agree with most of what you guys are saying. I don't, the trailer being left there is not ideal, but if we have some of the cover, from landscaping, things like that, it sounds like from a business operations standpoint, it's kind of a necessity on the way you run things. So if we can just find a way to give some cover, unlike a lot of we're doing for the neighbors, you know, that's ideal. And then I guess, but that piece in particular is not a huge concern to me.
I mean, I'm more concerned about the lighting
Yeah, I would agree with you.
back there.
Yeah, and that entry tower, looks like those are lit signs up there.
The Goodwill signs.
Mhm.
Yeah, they would be turned off when they close.
I guess the question I had, it's not clear from the rendering what is adjacent to the truck that's parked there all the time. I don't believe that there's mesh panel.
Yeah, I did grab an image. Yeah, we are proposing like a screening element here, so that was like a metal mesh.
Is that what that is?
So something like a 50% opacity potentially is what we're kind of conceiving. Again, I think there's feedback about that sight line and the opacity of that material, that we could change that to something more opaque.
Why do you want to go with opacity there instead of continuing the same scheme around the building and keeping it with a solid 45-foot enclosure there?
Certainly, the suggestion is to like continue brick masonry.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a possibility, right?
Yes,
Could get
you
hit
guys got good truck drivers,
back
right?
in.
Well, they're gonna take
Well,
out
they're
the
gonna hit a
fence.
fence otherwise.
Yeah, it's like sacrificial. Yeah, I think we're looking to do something economically here.
Sure.
And that this is the proposed result of that. I do think recognizing that the use and the truck and the liability for them to potentially hit or damage stuff is present in all truck docks, but so we propose something fairly utilitarian here.
Yeah, I think it also, with some opacity, but some ability to see through, we don't want to create an attractive nuisance in there either with an enclosed area that people could spend time in when they shouldn't be there.
As long as you have this up, can you pan? Yeah, thank you. And those pilasters bump out back there as well, correct?
Correct.
And there's no other lighting except in the truck dock on the north side, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. There's just that one fixture. I think right or wrong, the fixtures there, the perception of safety or, you know, otherwise, I think we can probably debate the merits of whether or not to light that space.
I don't know that, I'm just looking at it from a practical standpoint. At one point, you're gonna have 2 trailers in there, cause you have to, right? If you're gonna pick one up, drop one off. The light, how much room do you have between trailers? Right, trailers should go back to the wall, so that pushes the light higher up, which puts it above. I'd really like to see what that looks like with trailers in there. Cause that's really high.
Yeah, it's right there. And I believe it is somewhat of a cutoff fixture type, so.
I
you're
hope it
looking at-
is.
Yeah, we require that.
Yeah.
Anyone else? So procedurally, we move number 8 because, and swap that to add glass in that one bay on the west elevation.
But we're still waiving the percentage requirement.
I think it's okay then.
You too.
Ms. Linnae, that gets them to the requirements, right?
Oh, I don't know if adding that gets them to the requirement.
Does anybody have a
you know?
problem with if they don't get to the requirements?
I do not, given, as the gentleman pointed out, they've got screening already, and really, it's not gonna be as obvious as I was thinking originally.
I would agree. I don't have any issues with it.
Yeah,
I think it adds about 6%.
okay. So we're short 10%?
Yeah.
But I think we're okay with that. I say that we, as a universal we, am I not getting any pushback? Okay. Do we need to include that in here, Ms. Linnae?
So, under 8, it says the waiver for the transparency requirement shall be granted due to the topography of the site and the retail use resulting in racking and stacking constraints around the west facade, provided that additional glazing is added, on the west elevation at the demising wall. And then under number 12, it says architectural standards shall be met unless, then maybe we put a comment, unless otherwise waived. And then I've been taking notes too, if you'd like me to.
Give it to us.
Oh, yeah, okay. I added a number 17, that there be no exterior storage or dumpster. Just so it's memorialized, that one isn't added later. Handicap parking shall be located along the front entry
On the east side?
on the east side.
Yeah, we're putting that to 4 handicap spots, right?
As many as they
It'd be
could
3.
fit in that
3,
space, and
okay.
then the remainder would be where they're shown.
All right, just wanna make sure we're getting it right.
And then I had a berm from the truck dock to the edge of the development, a 6-foot berm? Is that what you were thinking?
A little taller than that. 6 foot, I don't think that's enough, is it?
That's as tall as you.
I mean, I don't wanna make them do any more work than they have to do, right? It's gotta be
mean,
a
what-
height that's gonna stop the, strobing lights.
No, I don't disagree.
Yeah, I don't know if that's 6 feet or
I
30
think
feet,
our,
I don't
I
know.
think our berm standards are 6 feet.
Well, if we have a standard berm, I
We
wasn't aware
do.
we had a standard berm. So,
I know.
we'll go with the standard berm.
Our standard berm.
But I don't
Yeah.
think we need to go all the way to the property line, do you?
Not to the
That's-
property line, but to the, I guess to that,
To
to that
water main?
hammerhead? Or to the water main, to the edge of the water main easement?
Can you take it down a little bit? So I wanna see what's adjacent, what's behind there. Do we
They
have
want
any-
it closer to the pavement, not where the green is, but right by that catch basin. Yeah, yep.
And shifted left a little. Oops.
Thank you. I
You're
was
doing
not
great.
clear on what we were talking about, so.
John's got a little
It's
ditch
gonna-
there. We're gonna have to move it north a
It's
little.
gonna have to move a little north, cause I
But
gotta get,
you
Well,
get the
'cause of
idea.
this,
I gotta
yeah.
get a swale
You
around.
gotta
Yeah.
get it up.
That'll work.
And then I had that the interior building lighting shall be dimmed after closed and that interior tower shall not be lit after closed.
And my change to item 3
Item
about
3,
saying
the
for the lighting
lighting
ordinance.
ordinance, not ASHRAE standards.
Well, and then weren't we gonna have a reference to some directional signage?
Yes, thank
Drop
you. Sign to enter from north to south. Yes, directional signage stipulating drop off from north to south.
There's lots of space out in that cul-de-sac to put a sign to. You know I'm calling Siler tomorrow, right?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the site plan review for Goodwill located at 6459 Cherry Meadows Drive Southeast with the conditions in the planner's letter dated March 9th with the following modifications. Modify number 3 to change per ASHRAE standards to township lighting ordinance. Modify number 8 to say adding glass to the west side bay where it's missing. And if that glass is added, the waiver is granted for overall windows requirements. Close enough. Modify number 12, architectural standards shall be met unless otherwise waived in these conditions. Add number 17, no exterior storage or dumpster is allowed on the site plan approval. Number 18, move handicap parking by the sidewalk on the east side of the building to the greatest extent practical. 19, add a 6-foot berm along the north end of the cul-de-sac and north of the loading dock turnaround area as depicted in the applicant's sketch in tonight's meeting. Number 20, dimming lights after close, including the interior tower and site lighting. And finally, number 21, add signs to the project that indicate the drop-off for goods is from the north to the south.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Visser.
Nice job.
Motion by Bradshaw, support by Visser. Any other discussion? Roll call. Cutler.
Yes.
Visser.
Yes.
Everly.
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
McLean.
yes.
Clement.
Yes.
Curtis votes yes. Motion passes, or recommendation passes. All right, Ms. Linne, tonight we have zoning discussion, review of industrial land use and special use standards, and keeping of courses. I would like to say I am happy after multiple years to have architectural standards for industrial on the agenda.
Yeah. Yeah, we've looked at those a few times. And I believe that they are, if you'd like, they're ready for us to schedule a public hearing on those.
I think,
Did I include those in your packet? I know we looked at them last time.
the architectural standards,
I don't think I did, not for the industrial in general.
no, you didn't. I was.
But they were in our joint meeting packet and then a packet before that.
Yeah, I'd like to see those.
Sure.
And get a good look at those, make sure that they align, because obviously it applies to all
Correct.
industrial standards. I did read in there, somewhere, oh, here, your memorandum from March 2nd, that, questions about whether, it should also be not just light industrial, but there's somewhere else I read it that you want a different zoning. We might want to include those architectural standards for as well. H, does that sound?
I don't know. I think that, well, one of the questions I had, and we can look at those industrial architectural standards again, is that there are some standards in the architectural standards that were operationally we had in mind for uses such as data centers. But if we're pulling out a data center as a special land use, it will have its own set of standards in that section too. So I wanted to make sure that what we have in the architectural standards for any light industrial is reasonable, given the menu of uses we allow in that district.
That seems prudent, because if you go off in one direction for one classification, you're gonna be challenged on it.
Correct.
Right, so yeah, that was my whole goal, is like, get industrial even across the board.
Right.
Data centers, not even part of the conversation
Yeah.
2 years ago, 3 years ago when I brought it up.
So I can bring those back to you. Why don't I email them out to you? Because we don't meet again until middle of April. And we can't have discussion via email, but I will send them out to you so you have time to look at them. Again, but then I would like to schedule a public hearing to get those in place. So that's the architectural standards for any industrial use. We have architectural standards for multifamily, for commercial, for office, and now we're doing industrial, just so folks know in the audience.
Do we have it covered, like, do we have all our architectural standards except for single-family residential?
Yes.
Finally.
Yep, we
Thank
have
you.
it for every use except for single-family, churches, utility, essential services aren't included. We have a whole list of building types that wouldn't be included, but single-family is kind of the main category that would not be in there.
Okay. All right,
So
that's,
So that's the architectural standards. What I have in the packet today is, we have a couple things. So we included the light industrial zoning district that we have today. It's chapter 13. It's on page 2 of that memorandum. So when we had our joint meeting, we listed off some of the uses that are permitted in light industrial. And our light industrial areas are primarily along 60th. Primarily west of Broadmoor, we have it north and south of 60th. 68, sorry, east of Broadmoor. There's light industrial south of 68 near Craft.
and there's also some like behind, let's call it behind Circle K, kind of that.
Yep. On the south side, there's some behind Circle K, near South Belt Industrial Park. It's not South Belt, but it's behind that drive-in shine. So when we met at the joint meeting, I listed off some of the uses that were permitted in light industrial. Now, a permitted use, they come in with their site plan. They have to meet our ordinance. We can attach some conditions, but there's no neighborhood notification. If they meet the ordinance, they're good to go. So some of these uses that I named at that meeting, people in the audience said, oh, wait a minute, should that use be moved into this special category so that we had more potential for oversight? So what I wanted today, or at a future meeting, is for you all to look at these permitted uses, kind of click down this list and say, maybe that should be moved into special. And then once I know what should be moved into special, then we can write standards for those.
I am missing something. Keep talking amongst yourselves while I
Okay.
dig in my pie.
So why don't I read these permitted uses, and then maybe you all can kind of stop me and say, oh, I think this one should move. Does that work? So the first one is yards and shops for contractors engaged in trades, including concrete, electrical, heating and cooling, landscaping, mechanical, and plumbing. The second is assembly of parts manufactured off-site, but not including grinding, pressing, extruding, bending, pounding, heating, chemically treating, or otherwise processing or finishing raw materials. So you can assemble things, but if you're doing any of that other grinding, pressing, heating, then it's a special use.
So like Viking, which is already in South
Yeah.
Belt, they assemble the fire
Yeah.
sprinkler heads that are
Right.
manufactured, the parts are
Right.
someplace else.
And remember when Hayworth came in, they wanted to press the plywood to make the furniture, and we said, nope, you're a special use because you're pressing. C would be offices, training offices, product research development. And then service uses, so auto repair, servicing, washing, but not including body shops or painting facilities. If you're a body shop or painting, that puts you into special automatically. Cleaning and dyeing plant. I remember someone at our meeting said, I think that should move to special, but
Yeah,
I don't know what you all think.
I think so.
Commercial. Commercial motor vehicle sales, rental, repair, and storage.
So like, Sunbelt,
Yep. Crating and packaging. Dry cleaners and laundry. Food and beverage catering. Kennels. Machining of small engines, equipment, or tools. Motor vehicle repair. Printing and publishing. Sign painting and servicing. Taxidermy. Utilities. Welding. Warehousing of goods, products, material, and equipment. Self-storage facilities. Wholesaling of goods, products, materials, and equipment. And then data and information centers.
kennels, would that include like doggy daycare too?
Mm-hmm.
So you're just looking for us to give you,
Let me know
A
if there's
tick in-
any of these that we should move into special use.
all right, real quick. Automotive repair, yes, no, just give me a thumbs up, yes, keep it, no, special.
Well, is it redundant that we have automobile repair, then we have motor vehicle repair? Or is that two different categories? Are we talking about,
It is kind of redundant. I mean, motor vehicle could be
Truck.
could be
RV,
over-the-road trucks.
truck.
Yeah, you could really combine 1, 2, and 9.
Two?
Or, excuse me, 1, 3, and 9.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I misspoke.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess my other comment on the list is that it's kind of an eclectic list, and there are certainly many other uses I could think of. So I'm not sure how much good we're doing ourselves by, creating and packaging, cleaning and dyeing. I don't know what either of those really mean in a context. And perhaps this relates to a list of federal work categories or something that
Right.
just some general terminology.
When
Right.
I hear it, I think of like the industrial, like uniform cleaning
Sure.
type of thing.
So I guess my point is, we could keep adding to the list forever, but I think the one that's really germane is the data and information centers, which came up, in public discussions. And I do think that needs a lot more definition. I do want to congratulate you on finding the Algoma standard, which I think is very useful. And it does a lot of the heavy lifting for those definitions.
Yeah.
I think there's things that could be added to that in terms of performance, but that's a good starting point. So I would advocate for making that category, at least in terms of some of the higher categories, you know, the enterprise data centers, the hyperscale ones, all that, I think that needs to be a special use. I think there's room to allow businesses to have those facilities on a small scale as part of their operations. But if it's dedicated to just that and it reaches such a large scale that it starts to affect, you know, environment in ways that we don't cover right now, I think we should have it as a special use.
Yeah, on that point, I would agree. Obviously, that's a concern of everybody, I think, right? So, but the other items, I've only been on the commission here for 6 months or so. So have you had issues with the other items in here up to this point?
We really have.
But we're touching it, so now's a good time.
Yeah, I don't
to
disagree with you.
clean it
I don't
up.
disagree with that. I'm just curious to know if there was other issues in the past at all.
I think maybe that's why they're on the list, but maybe it predates all of us.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, like to Donovan's point, 2 and 5 can be combined as well, because they're dry cleaning, laundry, cleaning, and dyeing plant. I mean, what?
Yeah, I think we could clean a few of these up, and maybe that's, you know, there's some on here that I don't obviously see too, which are big around here, like, what about, like, food manufacturing, processing, packaging? What about, like, medical device manufacturing? I think there's some things, like,
Exactly.
that we definitely wanna say, hey, these are, you know, acceptable uses that we see regularly in this, you know, on
Yeah.
that East Belling corridor and that sort of thing, where, you know, they're, I think uses, a couple uses we wanna encourage and probably name.
So are you advocating that maybe the list goes to the service uses as follows, collapses up into a sentence or two, and then we just list the special land use?
That's almost what I'm starting to think, is that, you know, you get to such a long list that maybe we wanna go with an exclusionary list instead of a, you know, inclusionary list, right?
Yeah, such as,
Right.
language.
I can see it both ways. I mean, if we have this list, whether it makes total sense or not, if you're not on this list, you have to come and ask for
I
permission.
agree with you.
And remember we had that a couple, 3-4 months ago, we had somebody trying to do a home business with
Yeah.
a pet.
Pet cremation,
crematory,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that, again, I mean, I would think that that would be in one of these industrial uses, either heavy or light, you know, that's where it ought to be, if
Yeah.
somebody's gonna do that, right?
I wonder if this falls into looking at, just kinda like we're doing with data centers and like pulling the Algoma thing. Does it make sense to see if there's a best practice out there, a standard for this, instead of us reinventing the wheel here, if there's a, since nobody knows how the list got formed to begin with, is there a standard practice? Cause to your point, we could go down the list forever and
Right.
try to keep, we're never gonna be able to sit here tonight and try to come up with everything that would fall into that category, right?
I mean, the catch-all is under the special land use is items not listed above.
Yeah, that's how you end up there.
I could certainly look at our neighboring communities and see if there's any, how they organize their list, and if there's any that might be missing or could be modified.
Yeah, it's not saying we have to do it, but it'd be interesting to just know if we're, you know, where we are.
But it sounds like for now, we would for sure move the data centers, and I provided an example of what that could look like. Things like the cleaning, dyeing, if there's anything with kind of dry cleaning, laundry with the chemical, we'd want that moved over to a special.
Well, I'm thinking the way to put it is, if there's a way to tie it to, like, uses controlled under EPA or whatever they're calling themselves.
Hmm.
Yeah, you know, where they use,
You're
I
talking
mean.
about like hazardous substances?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it would work, but just
Right.
as a way to just throwing it at the wall right now. We don't have to solve it tonight, that's the great thing.
But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, what do we really want? I mean, out of industrial uses here, I mean, we want buildings that are attractive, right? We don't want stuff that's necessarily real junky like scrap yards and, you know, that sort of thing that's an eyesore. I mean, you know, what else really are we trying to stop? Are we trying to stop noxious odors? Are we trying to stop,
Noise.
you know, too much noise, too much, you know, and those sorts of things? I mean, it just seems like it's where a use of property interferes with somebody else's enjoyment of their neighboring property, to me is, you know, that's what we wanna stop. I mean, to me, that's the idea of being good neighbors and, you know, good zoning is, you know, where we have a change in use, that those two uses don't impermissibly interfere upon, you know, one another and, you know, break down our communities.
Yeah, the whole year right's in where mine began.
Right.
Just out of curiosity, the communication antennas and towers, isn't that covered someplace else in the ordinance? Don't we have something on cellular towers somewhere else? It seems like we do.
I thought we did.
We do in the, well, we have a whole section in special use. That,
So,
this is where the use
This
is
is
named,
pointing
and then
to
in
that.
special use, it has, all of the standards for it.
not really.
Well, it's a special land uses, and then,
In chapter 16, then we have the detail on those.
No, we should have a reference there. All right. Are we happy with the setbacks and those type of items as well? I mean, we need to think about that, lot coverage, just, again, think about that for the next time we come together. Heights of the building. Of course, then we have the whole industrial, the I-2. We're not just looking at light, we're looking at I-2 as well. So I think we need to look at all of it at one time.
Would you want to have maybe a few of you do a deep dive into this?
I'll volunteer to do, you know, some of that, that's kinda in my wheelhouse, so.
what are the constraints if one of us is doing research and then we wanna share it, we send it to you and,
Yeah, you could send it to me, and then
Okay.
we would have
We
it
can
in one of
have-
your packets. Less than a quorum.
Yeah, you can have 3 people.
okay, thank you.
I think you're being replaced on Wednesday night.
Oh, am I?
I
Yes.
saw something.
I
on the
was told
agenda.
I wasn't gonna be, so that's fine. That's fine.
Well, I just wanna I'm counting, right, cause there's 7 of us.
Yeah.
And if there's all of a sudden 6 of us, then
Yeah, that's
we're
fine.
short, so.
I,
So Donovan and someone else.
I don't mind diving in either, unless somebody else
Okay.
wants to.
Alright, so.
Okay, so I'll follow up with you on Monday and send you some materials. Okay.
Alright, let's talk about the horses.
And the before
Oh,
we get to that, was there anything in the Algoma ordinance that stood out that you liked, you didn't like, something was missing?
I like the definitions, they defined, you know, made it clear what is what and how it works and why. I like they have greater setbacks than what we do. They define small, medium, large, I think, so that was important. Being less familiar with the property that exists in Algoma versus the property that exists here. I don't know if small, medium, and large even makes sense in our community, but maybe the research group can dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, I think they use the electrical demand
Megawatts.
as the differentiator.
Yep.
And I think that's probably a pretty good, metric to use for that. I think the idea of having performance requirements, they don't really list any of the standards that are typically used to evaluate data centers. And any of the metrics that, they kind of nibble at some of that in there, but I think there's probably more information that could be added to that.
I like the specificity of the noise requirements. I could see that getting super technical between us and a developer, but I'm sure we could hire somebody if we needed to do all the noise things.
You don't want to hire anybody. You want that to be on the constructor.
Yeah.
And they need to model it ahead of time, and it is a pain.
Yeah, don't make me think of my acoustics class.
I also am sure that our airport is noisier than what the airport says, but we have noise in our community.
I like that you had to show contact with proposed electrical service provider at the outset, and your submit a noise mitigation plan and a decommissioning plan. That was helpful.
And just to be clear, there's not a way to just say no, right? Like this is done in, like, no data centers, for instance, right? You just can't.
We can put restrictions.
That's what I'm saying, so that's how you do, that's how we put the restrictions on that we think are appropriate.
I think the appropriate thing to do is to make the assumption that somebody is going to build one of those facilities in our community. And then tell them how they have to build it so that it's acceptable in our community. I think that's the approach you have to take if you want to be able to defend this. And it may be so burdensome that they can't follow through on it.
Correct.
But you can't just say, oh, we don't like you, or because whatever, we think AI is bad. You can't do that because you can't defend it.
But you can put the restrictions in place that they either abide by it or they don't build here.
And you'll have to put teeth in it.
Yeah. Dollar General. Over on Whitneyville, right? It's not what they wanted to build, but it's what we wanted in the community. As far as the look. All right. Now you want to talk about horses?
Yeah. So, the zoning ordinance allows for the keeping of pets and livestock. We allow the keeping of livestock, including horses in ag and RR. There is a minimum requirement of 2 acres to have livestock. You can have 1 animal on 2 acres, and then for each 1 acre above 2, you can get an additional 1 animal. There are properties, and there is a property owner in R1, south of Kettle Lake, and they have 3 horses. I'm sorry, they have 3 acres. They only have 1 horse.
They want 3 horses.
Sorry, they have 3 acres, and it's getting late already. They have 3 acres and would like horses. They can't rezone to RR because our master plan says R1, so they're conforming to our master plan. And we've had this happen before. We actually had somebody that did rezone down from R1 to RR to keep livestock. So, in the context of some of these conversations about rural character and what is rural character in our community, a lot of people think that keeping of animals is one of those privileges in a community that has that rural character. So we were wondering what the Planning Commission thought about allowing livestock in R1 with the same rules of ag and RR if you have at least 3 acres or if you have at least 2 acres.
Yeah, once again, Kettle Lake rears its ugly head on us with that zoning over there, like you said. I think this should be a special land use. Horses are different than chickens
And would it be specific to horses, or are we talking,
We
like,
could
what if
write
somebody
it,
wants a goat, or somebody wants a
Cow.
we
cow
do
or a
say
sheep?
livestock, we include cattle, goats, sheep, pigs. We could write it however we wanted. If we're feeling like, a horse is more compatible than a sheep or a pig, we could write it that way.
I just wanna do this once.
Yeah, right.
I don't have a problem if somebody wants a cow, or, pigs really don't stink. Lots of pigs stink, but one pig doesn't.
And we still say that any building or feeding area has to be 100 feet away from a property line or a street right-of-way line, like, we still have those requirements.
The only reason I'm thinking special land use is not every 2 acres is equal. Like, if you have 2 acres and your house is all the way to the back, that means you have it in the front. And is that, do we want a horse shed or, whatever in the front between the house and the road?
Yeah.
I think yes. I think no, I mean, I honestly believe that, this is this is a throwback type issue. I mean, it's a agricultural, right to farm type issue for me.
Well, I'm not
I mean,
disagreeing with you.
And I think if you got a parcel, if you got a piece of property that's, again, it has to be adequate size, and to me, what's adequate size? It's gotta be 2 acres, I think, plus. I think you ought to be able to keep livestock over there. I don't think you should have to ask anybody for it. If I wanna get a horse, I'm in the ag district, but, I don't wanna go ask anybody except my wife,
Well, you can do that in ag.
Right.
But if you're on a half-acre lot in this new condo development. that
No,
we just-
I don't think a half acre is large enough to, really to keep animals. I'm a city boy, I know, I got an idea kind of what size of acreage are and that sort of thing, that,
Well, and
maybe it's 5 acres, maybe it's, but there's a spot where if you got enough dirt, you ought to be able to keep animals.
And going back to where you were going, Doug, was 2 acres, maybe you then open yourself to somebody wanting to be non-conforming because they build in their front yard, which is
Well, they'd
another
still have
requirement
to-
we would not allow them to do.
Yeah, unless they were 200 feet back.
Yeah.
They could build that in the front,
Yeah.
unless they come in for special use.
So I don't
There's a
know.
lot of interplay and interaction that we have to, like, make sure it's right with all the other setbacks and other, I agree with you, buy dirt.
Yeah.
But, and if it's a zero cost special land use, at least the neighbors get notified.
That's where I would go with you too, on that. At least the neighbors are notified, and you could get some feedback, and like I said, they're all not the same. I would fall into your category with this special land use.
I'd like to see the cost be,
Yeah, I
I
think it
don't know
should be
if we
easy,
can-
yeah.
make it like super easy, like cover the cost of the mailing and that's it.
I think I'll be different than anyone else. I think in the density that we're talking here, people have had an expectation that they're not gonna hear animals and smells, and there is a lot of property in our community that isn't zoned R1, where you can do these things. And I'm just pulling up right to farm, because I don't know a lot about it, but, I think, again, we need to protect people's property rights and what they thought they signed up for. And some people may not want to live next to one pig or one cow because they're in relatively dense neighborhoods. So I guess I'm gonna disagree with most of what I've heard so far.
Well, and there's a lot involved too. If you have enough land to have a horse or whatever, I think it should be special use and taken by a case-by-case basis, because it also involves type of fencing and outbuilding, you know, a lot of things about it. And like you said, if you've got which I have a narrow strip of land, you know, it's long but narrow, and where am I gonna put it? He's not on, you know, almost on the neighbor's yard.
And remind me, again, this is probably related just to Kettle Lake area. Let's
I can
look
show
at a
up the
zoning
map.
map,
Yeah.
maybe not tonight, cause we've got more runway to go here. But remind me again, wasn't it like the guy owned 20 acres and he wanted to build an accessory building or something out there in the R1 that we had to, I mean,
Yeah, we did. And he rezoned to RR.
Yes.
It's just this light brown. That's R1. So we have basically 4 area. Oh, it's on, can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay.
The projectors just need to be turned on.
So the parcel that, people have called about is right over here. But these are these larger parcels that are R1, just south of Kettle Lake. Otherwise, we have this area here that's R1, a few homes here on Thornapple River, which are probably too small. Some over here.
you're off the screen. Other way. Other way. Other way.
The other
Some
way.
here.
Yeah, still more.
This
Good,
way?
I got it.
Okay, over here.
So Thornapple at 60th, Thornapple River Drive by 60th Street.
Yeah.
Between the river and Thornapple and
Yep.
at 60th Street there.
And some of those probably are not even big enough.
If you throw it,
It's basically these.
seems like it makes sense to throw it in special use then, cause then it's such a small number, it really is a case by case.
And then neighbors are invited and we can
Yeah,
understand
get
their
in there.
concerns.
Right.
I won't fight you on that. That sounds fair. Especially with expectations already set up, you know, when you moved into the R1 and that sort of thing, so. It seems fair.
Okay, I can work on that. And then there's just the annual report. It's just informational purposes.
Yes, about the number of stuff we did. We don't have to act, just receive it,
Just receive it.
okay? No unfinished business, public comment, up to 5 minutes if anybody would like to talk about anything else for 5 minutes. Please know I'm running the timer.
My name's Angela Hecker. I live in the Graymore neighborhood. I just want to say thank you to everybody. I know it's been a long Monday, so thank you so much for your time. It was really nice to hear everybody's comments while the developers were speaking and your concerns for the neighborhoods that they would potentially be building into. I heard points about troublesome water promises, homeowner A, kid drowning in whatever they called the pond. But I just want to talk about, hearing you guys talk about future potential neighbors, I would like to talk about current residents that are potentially going to be affected by what this land is currently zoned as next to Graymore. So, you know, homeowner A drowns in the pond. Well, what about the kid in Graymore with severe asthma and allergies that can't go outside and play in the summer? Landscaping, let's be honest, it's not really gonna fix what you have in your backyard or right next to you in your neighborhood. Trucks parked overnight, lighting issues, and that's just a retail space. What would light industrial bring to a neighborhood that's already developed? It's a compromise to safety and long-term sustainability. I believe that light industrial would be that as well for a developed neighborhood that's already there. Just sitting here listening to that, I was like, man, where's that level of consideration when, you know, our neighborhood was being built? But it is built, but we could do something about what's going on with this zoning that's over 20 years old. We're planning based on outdated plans. We're touching on this now, so now's a good time to bring it up. the master plan where this parcel is currently zoned as does not match up to where the community currently is. All of the light industrial zoning is west of Broadmoor, except that one parcel right next to our neighborhood. It doesn't make sense. We talked about finding a community where there is a best practice that we can follow. My brother lives in Texas, and step off the plane, I'm like, this is the cleanest area I've ever been around. They have so much commercial and so much industry going on there. But their zoning, residential, is completely separate from anything else. So there is no back and forth for needing X, Y, and Z requirements met because the zoning took care of that. As homeowners of the Graymore neighborhood, we are just urging you to please revisit the master plan rather than make a list of all these things and requirements that we need for it to fit into our township. We're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole where to me, it just seems so simple. Let's just rezone it. Let's just get rid of that light industrial parcel that makes no sense where it is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? I like your optimism with shorts.
Sorry?
I like the optimism with your shorts.
Well, I got sexy legs. So, I'm Scott Riak. I live in the Cherrywood area there. We've kind of watched what's going on with the light industrial, and I just wanted to come up here and ask the board and the commissioners, whatever you guys are. We're up here talking about how many horses you can have, how many llamas, how many camels, how many pigs, whatever it is. That's not a normal topic for a township, if you will. And it just goes to show we've got this very unique rural character here in Caledonia. And that rural character is not going to be maintained or preserved if we have more light industrial creeping into areas that kind of butt up against residential areas or butt up against other agricultural areas. Let's limit the light industrial expansion, and let's really tightly control what can go into those areas so that we don't end up having a situation where we don't talk about these unique rural, I'll just call it Caledonia-ish topics. Let's keep Caledonia, keep it nice. Cheers.
Thank you.
Go blue.
Anyone else?
Anthony Hogan, Graymore. I want to say that to echo what was just said, the comments that were made about the other establishment, I don't know where you live, but the comments made about these other areas, even the Goodwill building, were very inspiring. I was very impressed that there was so much focus on what's going to happen to the residents, what is going to impact them. I want the lots to look better. I want the drainage to be right. I want all this stuff to be good. We don't want to impact the residents. And it's very inspiring. When I think about Graymore, we enjoy a pre-sunrise lighting throughout the night thanks to the Amazon industrial building. You can see it. It's like having a skylight the entire night. It shines out. You can barely see stars around it. And we're over in Graymore. When Amazon trucks are going, the sound for the expansion of M37 was not taken into account. We have more noise than they ever took into account, and they rebuffed us when we tried to challenge them on it. When we're looking at the construction now going on in M37, we expressed all of our concerns around how our barrier between us and the road was being removed, and what's being left is nothing. You can come over there and MDOT's gonna come out and look at it and do nothing, but they're gonna come out there, but they ignored us there. We were ignored when we expressed how much our barrier, we're going to spend, if we were to try to bring it back, we would spend well over $100,000 just for us to put something there. We've been ignored repeatedly. So what I would ask is, and we asked this in the previous meetings and did not receive it, could you please, at least, even if it's a lie, use the same language that you're using for every other resident that you seem to be defending, every other community that you seem to want to protect, every building you're trying to go after. Could you please use that when you're talking about that data center area and the area around where Cherry Valley and Graymore is? Because to date, I have never heard it. Every meeting, everything's about, even today, you're talking about it's already rezoned. It's already changed. The vote's been done, even though there's a committee supposedly looking into it. That language is not being used with us. We are being dismissed, and it's more check a box. They made their comment. We've let them do their job. Let's move on. It's pretty offensive. I would just ask that you please consider using the language that you're using for everyone else for that. And maybe somebody already made a deal with someone, and that's why it's already a done deal, and why even worry about it. But it would be great if we could at least feel like there was a concern to make it right. So I just ask that you consider that in your language.
Thank you.
May I address the audience real quick?
Not
No?
tonight.
All right, we'll do it another time then.
Anyone else? Mr. Bond?
Of what we do here.
Did you give me 2 and a 1 there, Doug? I got a few things here. And try
You
and
have
hit all
5.
of them. So, appreciate a lot of the comments tonight as far as like looking at proposals and thoughts and considerations. At the last meeting, I think one of the things that was kind of hard is it just felt like it was just done. And being new to this process, you know, maybe that's the case. But again, just going back to the master plan is inspirational, and would just like to have that be considered as plans are brought forward and development is taking place here in Caledonia Township. So chapter 3, page 2, natural beauty goals, ensuring a thorough review of development proposals and their potential on the township's natural beauty, rural character, and sensitive environmental areas. Land use goals, page 3 of the same chapter, the township will recognize the need for areas of rural living where natural areas can be protected and enjoyed, privacy maintained, and larger lots preserved. And one of the things that was encouraging tonight until things didn't change on where the road was going to go on the first proposal. And the land use says higher density residential land uses will be directed to areas where adequate, utility services are available, roads are sufficient to accommodate greater volumes of traffic. And I just feel like in the conversation tonight and at the last meeting that the road commission worries about the road and they're responsible for road uses and so on. But somebody has to direct the developments to the right roads and to the right places where it'll be safe for the residents of Caledonia Township. And I think it was stated at the meeting last time that the Kent County Road Commission is probably not the place to be concerned about that as much as it might be here. And so I just asked that as things can be directed, that would happen. You know, one of the things the gentleman mentioned that the retaining of water wasn't a pond. Well, they're on notice now that when a kid drowns, it's not an accident. Okay, so just as a matter of counsel on that, it's not an accident from this point forward. As far as the data centers go, I think Brian Harrison mentioned it, and I think and I echoed it last time, and I think it's a good thing to consider is the building size. You mentioned that, you know, if they're decommissioning, like what's the plan? But I think building size might be a good way to go to look at the data centers. And then, well, the projector's not working. I would just, in light of it's March 27, I think, when the new split rules come out and so on, I would just ask that the sections 13, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 34, 35, and 36, so basically the east side of the township, and then the south couple of sections, be considered for larger minimum lot sizes. There's not a lot of property left in Caledonia to have larger lots that the master plan talks about. And the master plan is supposed to be the guiding principle as far as I understand township rules and regulations. And given what can happen and dictates coming down from the state, whether it's for site condo development or splits, I would just ask that that might be considered in some of those sections, to retain some of that character out in that area, because once it's gone, once there's 31 homes, you know, out there on a tract of land or whatever it is, it's gone. And so I would just ask that, there's tools that you can use to, protect that, and minimum lot size is one of those tools, and so I just plead that you would consider that, just in a portion. I think you drive down Craft, you drive down M37, I think Caledonia is doing their part in providing housing, and I would just ask that a part of our township be maintained. And I'm not talking about, you're gonna address the letter, I'm not talking about things that are in works, things that are in process, things in the future. And so I would just ask that that would be considered, just to save a portion of our township for larger lots, animals, whether they're domesticated or wild. So, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Just me.
Hi, it sounds very loud. Hi, I'm Wally. I live in Greymore community. I am a professional data scientist. I work with AI pretty much every day. I am a senior analyst. I've worked as director of analytics in a couple startups. And I want to remind the township that AI is extremely speculative technology, that it is not really meeting benchmarks that are set by academia for human intelligence, and its future for practical use is unknown. That when we build a giant data center, it may be abandoned as a project to be maintained in a couple of years, and then we have to ask, who is buying this giant building that lives right next to our community? Probably not storefronts. So what is the next light industrial zone that's going to be, or light industrial use that's going to be right next to our community? I don't want to start a slippery slope into more inappropriate uses of buildings that are right next to where we live. Thanks.
Thank you.
Against my better judgment, I'm going to step up to the microphone. My name's Adam Chamberlain, and I live in the Greymore neighborhood. I'm a kindergarten teacher, and I teach 25 little tiny kids, 5 and 6 years old, some 7. One of my jobs is I teach outdoors. I teach them to be good stewards of the planet. And one thing that I teach them, and that I do, is I think to the future. And I think sometimes I teach them even things beyond what they're going to ever see in their lives. We planted a pollinator garden in our little area of our school. I won't see it come to full bloom from like when I retire. I will probably not see it for its full potential, but I do know that my choice to teach them how to plant and how to make good choices and how to improve the land that we live on and that we learn at is something that, like, once you make that choice, it lasts forever. I made a choice to come up here and speak today because without coming up and speaking, if I didn't, I would regret it. Now, you might, like, a choice will be made or by whoever regarding a data center, and that choice doesn't go away. Nobody can just bury that choice like you can a pollinator garden. That choice is forever. That choice will not go away. It cannot be mitigated. You destroyed the soil underneath, and any type of native grasses or native plants or any soil like amendment cannot be fixed under the, like, can't fix it under there. So I just hope that with the decisions that we do make going forward, it's thought about in the generations going after us, coming after us. We think about them, not us. I think about my kids every single day, but I also think about the 25 of my little tiny kindergartners that I think about every single day, not just them, their kids and their kids' kids. The choices I make every single day doesn't affect just them. It affects me, them, and everyone that comes after them. So please, with whatever you do in the future, don't think about us. Think about everyone that comes after us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ben Hecker. I'm from the Graymoor community as well. I think it's pretty universal to say that everybody in that community is against the data center. A couple of things that I wanted to talk to you about today. Some very encouraging things. Commissioner Bradshaw, thank you for your inquisition or your going into asking about the different properties, the different for Holly Ridge, and for the Goodwill as well. I think a lot of things were very properly said today, but I do want to just bring on a couple of different things. We had said, and the commissioners had said, that we want to protect the enjoyment of our property based upon our neighboring businesses, right? I think by putting a data center in there, that really it can potentially ruin that community. We bought the properties thinking that we had a certain expectation within the properties, right? And increasing the noise, the lighting, stuff like that, is not going to be good for the community. We had said that, Chairman Curtis, you had said that the county, when speaking about Holly Ridge, the county made a decision based upon something because it doesn't live there. I would say that I would ask that you don't make a decision based on the data center if you're not in that area. Please consider the folks that are in that area. It's very easy to make a decision based on somewhere where you don't necessarily live or isn't going to impact you directly. We had said, again, speaking about Holly Ridge, something had come up and said this meets the requirements, the zoning and the planning had met the requirements, but it could be done better. It could be done better for the residents, right? And a couple commissioners had agreed to that. I just ask that as we move forward and we make plans and decide the community's future, that we don't just take that attitude. That we should be better than just meeting requirements. So, having been here for 4 years myself, I can say a lot of great things about Caledonia. I mean, Coach, you were my son's coach for Beckett, did a great job. There's a lot of great things to be done and is done in this community, and I'd just like to see that continue. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Jessica Cohn, and I actually live in Cherrywood Estates, which is located near Graymoor, but not quite in that same area. My takeaway from tonight was a lot of great things. I'll tell you what, you guys have to consider so much topography, right? All that, it's crazy the amount of information that you guys have get overloaded with and have to make decisions. So hats off to all of you for the amount of time that you spend, because I know it's a lot, so thank you for that. My takeaway is that this is a bigger and broader discussion, right, as the future of Caledonia and what we all do on as a community. Mike, I have questions more than I have comments, and that is, you know, how recent has been a community survey and what the community is looking for in terms of land use or in terms of different things. Like, I know I've lived here for 26 years now, and we've had a couple of surveys over the years, and we've been able to give feedback on what the community wants. And I can't recall the last time we've had that. And kind of going back to the master plan on, you know, have areas changed. You know, we do have a lot more housing developments that we did not have 25 years ago. And now that those things have changed, the people that have moved here have the priorities changed. And I just think that that is a bigger, broader conversation. And I feel like at the last meeting, I don't know if there was a comment about maybe we need to have a couple of groups within the community kind of exploring some of these. I know it's the Planning Commission's job to make sure the law is abided by, the ordinance are abided by, but I guess in the general idea, would there be some advantageous kind of conversation around just what the community's feedback is directly instead of like at a meeting that we're sharing? I don't know. I'm just talking about if we can have some groups to get together somehow to kind of come up with some ideas or future. I'm really blabbing right now, but hopefully you guys know what my heart is, and my heart is I'm always a person that loves feedback. I sit on the board of education at Caledonia, and one of the best parts of that is I like to hear what the public is saying. I like to hear the feedback. But if I hear it and I don't do anything about it, or I don't take it into consideration and try and gain additional facts, then why am I there, and why am I going to make those big decisions? So I just think feedback is so important. So I just encourage you guys to somehow get feedback, more feedback from the community, not just Graymore and Cherrywood, like the whole community. I mean, there could be a data center, who knows where, maybe more south in Caledonia. It's not just about, I think, where we live. For me, it's about the community as a whole. So directionally. So thank you.
Seeing no more comments, I close the public comment period. Commissioner comments? No. I would like to say thank you for the time Mr. Eberly has spent with us. I believe his replacement is being voted on Wednesday, if I read the...
I've been focused on this packet, I haven't looked at that one yet.
I looked at that one to see. I think it's part of the consent agenda.
Okay.
It is.
So thank you for your thoughts.
You're welcome.
You always challenge my thinking. So,
I'm
good or
not gonna
bad?
make any comment on that.
I'll just be brief too. Thanks to John, not only the things that I've learned from you in our time together here, but also at Progressive. You've always got a level head, and sometimes when we have controversial topics and things get heated, you always find some common ground to try to bring us back. So I appreciated your skill set in doing that, and your calmness and how our meetings always turned out. And then I also just want to thank everybody who continues to show up today. We appreciate your input, and I think in general we're aligned with you, and we just need to find the legal avenues to allow development to occur in our community, but the development that we want to occur in our community.
All right, correspondence and staff updates. We have a letter from the neighbors at Alaska Trail, and we have received that letter. It was addressed to the Harrison Township Supervisor. That we have the joint meeting minutes, which are just for informational use only. And with that,
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
motion by Eberly,
Support?
by Bradshaw. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, meeting adjourned. I know where you live. I'll be by for that beer.
Yeah, here.
Thank you.
You're a coach.
I coach too, yes. Oh, basketball, football, baseball.